They were slow, they were ignored, some were laughed at. But decades later, these so-called useless Camaros have become rare treasures. Hidden in plain sight, they now command respect and serious money, proving that time can turn even the most overlooked classics into collector holy grails. In the 70s, not every Camaro was built for speed. Many were stripped down or luxury trimmed, dismissed by muscle car fans. Today, those very models are sought-after rarities. Join us as we reveal the 10 forgotten Camaros now commanding attention and why collectors can't get enough of them. Top 1, 1972, Camaro LT1 non-Z28. In 1972, muscle car buyers wanted big stripes and badging. No Z28, no sale. Which is why this Camaro, packing the exact same LT1 small block, was ignored, dismissed, and sold for peanuts. Little did they know, it was one of the rarest 72 Camaros you could buy. Under the hood was Chevrolet's legendary 350 cubic inch LT1 V8. Solid lifters, forged internals, 780 CFM holy carb aluminum intake. Rated at 255 net horsepower, around 330-350 gross, it could spin to 6,000 RPM and rip 0 to 60 in roughly 6.2 seconds, figures strong enough to nip at Hemi quarter-mile times. The difference? This one didn't wear Z28 stripes or badging. Instead, it could be ordered as a plain Camaro coupe or sport coupe, sometimes with luxury touches from the LT trim line. From the outside, it blended into traffic, a sleeper in every sense. Only an estimated 200-300 LT1 non-Z28 cars left the factory, buried among the 2,575 total LT1 engines installed that year. Most buyers didn't even realize what they were getting. Because it lacked the visual punch of a Z28, dealers struggled to sell them. Many sat unsold for months, discounted heavily, sometimes traded in within a year. In the early 1980s, you could pick one up for under $2,000. Today, a documented LT1 non-Z28 can fetch $60,000 to $80,000 at auction, more if it's numbers matching and unrestored. The very absence of stripes, once a deal killer, now makes it a unicorn for collectors. And while the sleeper LT1 hid in plain sight, the next Camaro wore its performance on its sleeve, rolling off the line in 1971 with the same engine, louder stripes, and a reputation it had to fight to keep. Top 2, 1971, Camaro Z28 LT1. By 1971, the Z28 was still a Trans Am racer for the street, at least on paper, but lower compression, rising insurance rates, and an unfamiliar new body style meant buyers stayed away. What was once a performance hero was now collecting dust in showrooms. Under the hood, the 1971 Z28 still carried the LT1 350 cubic inch small block, forged crank and rods, high-flow heads, solid lifter cam, Holley carb on an aluminum intake. Rated at 330 gross horsepower, about 275 net, it could spin past 6,000 RPM and rip 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds, numbers that embarrassed many big blocks of the day. It came standard with a Muncie 4-speed F41 sport suspension, power front discs, and 3.731 posit traction. Outside, it wore bold twin stripes, a blacked-out grille, and rally wheels. Inside, it was all business, full gauges, high-back buckets, no frills. Even with its performance pedigree, only 4,862 Z28s were built in 1971. The big block SS396S and flashy luxury trims outsold it. Buyers saw a high-revving small block as less car for more money, especially with compression cut to 10.31. Many sat unsold and were discounted heavily. Today, collectors prize the 71 Z28 for being the last near-pure LT1 before net horsepower ratings and stricter emissions reshaped the muscle landscape. Values have jumped from $6,000 in the 1980s to $65,000 to $85,000 for documented original examples. But while the 71 Z28 shouted its intentions in stripes and stance, the next Camaro's appeal came from surviving a tougher era, reviving performance just as the disco decade began. Top 3, 1978 Camaro Z28. LM1. In 1978, the Z28 wasn't the fire-breathing track terror it once was. With just 185 horsepower on paper, critics called it a decal package with a hood scoop. But buyers lined up anyway and ended up preserving a piece of Camaro history no one saw coming. Under the long hood sat the LM1 350 cubic inch small block V8, fed by a 4-barrel carb rated at 185 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Paired with a 4-speed manual or optional automatic and 3.421 gears, it could still do 0 to 60 in 7.1 seconds quick for the late 70s smog era. The 78 redesign brought a new front fascia, functional hood scoop, fender flares, and some of the boldest Z28 graphics ever. Inside, it blended sport and comfort, high-back bucket seats, full gauges, and optional air conditioning, making it as much a cruiser as a corner carver. Despite being dismissed by purists, 54,907 Z28s sold in 1978, making it one of the best-sellered Z28 years ever. The so-called sticker car helped keep Camaro performance alive when most muscle nameplates were fading or gone. In the used market of the 1,980s, they could be had for $3,000 to $4,000. Today, clean 78 Z28s with original paint and drivetrain are climbing fast in value, often reaching $30,000 to $40,000 and more for low-mileage survivors. The same graphics that were mocked in the day now scream period-correct cool to collectors. But while the 78 Z28 thrived on style and sales, the next Camaro in our list was a quieter presence. An understated rally sport that hid more than a few performance secrets under its two-tone paint. Top 4, 1976, Camaro Rally Sport, LM1. By 1976, performance was a whisper, not a roar. The Rally Sport package was mostly about two-tone paint and pinstripes, hardly the stuff of legends. But the LM1 V8 hiding under some of these cars' hoods told a different story. The 76 Rally Sport was a trim option, not a performance model. It featured distinctive two-tone paint, body color sport mirrors, and unique striping. Buyers could pair it with any Camaro drivetrain, including the LM 150 cubic inch small block, rated at 165, 185 net horsepower, depending on emissions equipment. When matched with a 4-speed manual and 3.42 or 3.73 gears, the LM1 RS could still hit 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds, respectable for its time. Inside, the RS offered the same cabin as other Camaros, with optional high-back bucket seats, full instrumentation, and comfort features like AC and tilt steering. While it lacked the Z28's aggressive stance, the RS had a subtle, classy appeal, especially in the rare color combos. Because most buyers ordered RS cars with base V6 or 305 V8 engines, LM1-equipped RS Camaros are a small fraction of the 68,000 RS and LT coupes built that year. For decades, they were overlooked, often sold for under $2,000, $500 in the 1,980s. Today, original LM1 Rally Sports, especially with factory 4 speeds and two-tone paint, are valued for their rarity and period charm, climbing into the $25,000 to $35,000 range. They represent a unique cross between muscle heritage and mid-70s style. But if the Rally Sport mixed subtlety with speed, the next Camaro threw subtlety out the window, stripping down to 6 cylinders and a bare-bones interior, only to become one of the most unexpected collectibles of the decade. Top 5, 1974, Camaro Base Coupe 250 i6. In 1974, the Camaro's base model didn't roar, it hummed. With a straight 6 under the hood, it was the opposite of a muscle car. To enthusiasts, it was useless. To collectors today, it's a survivor from a year that changed everything. The 74 Camaro Base Coupe came standard with Chevrolet's 250 cubic inch inline-6, producing around 100-110 net horsepower. Paired with a 3-speed manual or optional automatic, it took a leisurely 12-13 seconds to hit 60 miles per hour. It wasn't built for the strip, it was built to be affordable. This was the first year of federally mandated 5 miles per hour impact bumpers, giving the Camaro a new face with a larger aluminum bumper and urethane cover. Inside, the base coupe came with plain vinyl bench seats, minimal trim, and few frills. Still, the F-body platform meant it handled better than most economy coupes of the day. While V8 Camaros got the headlines, the i6 cars quietly filled dealer lots and served as daily drivers across America. Out of 150 1008 Camaros built in 1974, A significant chunk were 6 cylinders, but most were driven into the ground, modified, or scrapped. Finding one today in original condition, especially with factory paperwork, is shockingly difficult. In the 1980s, you could buy a running i6 Camaro for a few $100s. Today, pristine base models can fetch $18,000 to $25,000 more if they retain original paint, interior, and drivetrain. Collectors prize them for their rarity and untouched character. And while the base coupe proved that even the slowest Camaros can become prized survivors, the next car on our list took slow to a new level, built to meet California emissions laws and almost forgotten everywhere else. Top 6, 1979, Camaro RS V6, California. Late 70s California emissions laws didn't just tame muscle, they neutered it. And nowhere was that more obvious than in the 1979 Camaro RS with a V6 under the hood. To most, it was pointless. Today, it's a time capsule. The 1979 Camaro Rally Sport was a trim package, striped graphics, two-tone paint, sport mirrors wrapped around any engine in the lineup. In California, that sometimes meant the Buick-sourced 231 cubic-inch V6, producing just 115 net horsepower. Paired with a 3-speed automatic, it took over 15 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. The RS package still offered visual punch. Blacked-out grille, body-colored wheels, and bold striping that hinted at speed it couldn't deliver. Inside, it was standard late 70s Camaro, high-back bucket seats, simulated wood grain trim, and a dashboard dominated by round gauges. It wasn't fast, it wasn't even brisk, but it met California's strict emissions rules and gave style-conscious buyers an affordable entry into the Camaro family. Of the 282 Camaros built in 1979, very few were RS V6 California models. Most buyers opted for a V8 if they wanted the RS look, making these low-slum, high-style cars an accidental rarity. For decades, they were ignored. Many lost their V6 engines to small-block swaps. Today, a genuine, numbers-matching RS V6 California can fetch $20,000 to $28,000, especially if the original smog equipment is intact. Their appeal? Scarcity, originality, and a snapshot of a politically charged automotive era. If the California RS was a victim of legislation, the next Camaro on our list was a victim of confusion, wearing a luxury badge but hiding in the performance car family tree. Top 7, 1973 Camaro Type LT307. In 1973, Chevrolet decided the Camaro should be more than just a muscle car. Enter the Type LTA, luxury trim meant to rival personal coupes. And when paired with the base 307 V8, it became the most misunderstood Camaro of its year. The Type LT replaced the SS as the upscale Camaro, offering additional sound insulation, wood grain dash trim, plush carpeting, and optional cloth bucket seats. From the outside, it wore subtle LT badging and bright window moldings, giving it a more refined look than the Z28. But under the hood of this version was the 307 cubic-inch small-block V8, good for about 115-130 net horsepower. With a 2-barrel carb and mild cam, it was tuned for smoothness, not speed. Mated to a 3-speed, manual or automatic, it took around 12 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. It was the kind of Camaro you bought if you wanted style, without the performance penalties of high insurance rates. Out of 96,751 Camaros, built in 1973, only a fraction were Type LTs with the 307. Most buyers chose the 350 V8 or went for Z28 performance. These low-power luxury LTs often became daily drivers, racking up miles and disappearing into obscurity. Today, a clean, original 307 Type LT is a rare sight, and collectors have begun to value them as emblematic of the Camaro's pivot in the 70s. Prices have climbed from under $2,000 in the 1990s to $18,000 to $25,000 for unrestored Survivor. If the Type LT307 represented Camaro luxury, the next car doubled down on style, adding even more plush, even less performance, and a name that sounded like it belonged in a Paris showroom. Top 8, 1977 Camaro Berlinetta. By 1977, Chevy decided the Camaro needed a touch of European flair. The result was the Berlinetta A-name, dripping with sophistication, but to muscle fans, it sounded like a salad dressing. Underneath, it was more style than speed. The Berlinetta replaced the Type LT as Camaro's luxury trim. It featured unique badging, color-keyed sport mirrors, pinstripes, and a more upscale interior with extra sound insulation, wood grain accents, and available velour seats. The focus was comfort, not quarter-mile times. Most Berlinettas came with either the 305 cubic inch V8 making around 145-155 net horsepower or the base 250 inline 6. Buyers could option a 350 LM1, but few did. Even with the 350, 0 to 60 times were around 10 seconds. With the 6-cylinder, you were looking at over 13 seconds. Still, the Berlinetta handled well thanks to the F-body chassis, and it appealed to buyers who wanted Camaro style without the noise or insurance rates of a Z28. Out of 218,853 Camaros built in 1977, the Berlinetta made up a modest share, and many were loaded with comfort options instead of performance gear. As muscle car fans ignored them, they quietly vanished from the streets. Today, a survivor Berlinetta, especially one with original paint, interior, and documentation, can fetch $20,000 to $28,000. Collectors value them as symbols of the late 70s shift from muscle to personal luxury coupe. If the Berlinetta aimed for luxury buyers, the next Camaro in our list went back to basics, dropping in a small block V8 with just enough grunt to move, but wearing the simplest trim Chevy could sell in the mid-70s. Top 9, 1975 Camaro LT V8, 2-barrel. 1975 marked the dawn of catalytic converters, unleaded fuel, and single-digit compression ratios. For the Camaro LT with a 2-barrel V8, performance wasn't just toned down, it was muzzled. And yet this so-called slow Camaro is now a collector's prize. The LT trim was Camaro's upscale offering, with wood grain accents, upgraded interior materials, and added sound insulation. Under the hood of this variant sat the 350 cubic inch small block with a 2-barrel carburetor, good for around 145-155 net horsepower. Paired with either a 3-speed manual or automatic and tall highway gears, it took nearly 11 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. On the outside, the LT looked refined, with thin rocker moldings, optional vinyl top, and discreet LT emblems. Inside, high-back bucket seats, full carpeting, and extra insulation made it feel more like a personal luxury coupe than a muscle car. It was built for comfort cruising, not drag strip glory. Out of 116,021 V8-powered Camaros built in 1975, only a fraction were LT models with the 2-bar-barrel 350. Most V8 buyers went for the 4-barrel L65 or performance-oriented LM1, leaving the 2-barrel LT overlooked. For years, these cars languished at the bottom of the value charts, often selling for under $2,000. Today, originality is king, and a pristine, numbers-matching LT 2-barrel can command $18,000 to $24,000, especially with factory paperwork and low miles. And while the 75 LT V8 was all about quiet cruising, the final Camaro in our list dialed things back even further, downsizing to a small V8 and aiming squarely at the automatic-only crowd. Top 10, 1978 Camaro LT3 05 Auto. By 1978, performance was no longer the Camaro LT's mission. Instead, it catered to buyers who wanted the look of a sporty coupe, with the ease of an automatic, and the fuel economy of a smaller V8. At the time, enthusiasts scoffed. Now, they're hunting for them. The LT trimmed miles per hour-sized comfort plush interior materials, extra sound deadening wood grain dash inserts, and chrome interior accents. Under the hood of this variant sat the 305 cubic inch small block V8, rated at about 145-150 net horsepower. Mated exclusively, in this case, to a 3-speed automatic, it delivered smooth, easy driving but took roughly 11-12 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. Externally, the LT carried subtle badging, bright window moldings, and often a vinyl roof. Inside, the atmosphere was more personal luxury than muscle, with optional velour seats and full carpeting. It was, by design, a Camaro for people who didn't care about quarter-mile times. Out of the 272,631 Camaros built in 1978, around 65,000 were LT models, but very few were ordered with the 305 automatic combination and left unmodified. Many were later swapped to larger engines or stripped for parts, making originals surprisingly rare today. For years, these cars were bargain bin Camaros, often changing hands for under $1,500. Now, well-preserved examples with original paint and drivetrain are selling for $15,000 to $20,000, driven by collectors seeking untouched late 70s survivors. The 1978 LT305 Auto may never have been built to dominate the drag strip, but it has conquered something far more elusive: time. Surviving examples stand as understated reminders that even the least celebrated Camaros can earn a place in collector history. From six-cylinder cruisers to low-dimension V8s, these once unwanted Camaros have earned a second life. They remind us that rarity isn't always born from horsepower, it's born from survival. And in the collector world, survival is everything. Which one of these so-called useless Camaros would you want in your garage?